My grandson live-streamed a family party where my daughter called me a desperate failure, even though I'd been paying her apartment rent for 8 years. She laughed while describing how worthless my life was, so I blocked her number and I'll tell you everything. First, let me thank you for watching Granny's Voice. Please subscribe and tell us where you're watching from in the comments. We might give you a shout-out in our next video. Today's special shout-out goes to Martha Johnson from Phoenix, Arizona. Thank you for being part of our family. Now, let me tell you everything. I was washing dishes in my tiny kitchen when my phone buzzed. My grandson Tommy had sent me a link with crying emojis. "Grandma, you need to see this. I'm so sorry." My heart dropped as I clicked the link. There was my living room, decorated with balloons for my birthday party. But instead of celebrating, I watched my own daughter Lisa sitting on my couch, holding my wine glass, telling everyone how pathetic I was. "My mother thinks volunteering at the animal shelter makes her important," Lisa said, rolling her eyes dramatically. She couldn't handle a real job after Dad died, so now she plays with puppies all day like some desperate old woman. My name is Margaret Chen. I'm 58 years old. For the past 8 years, I've been quietly paying my daughter's apartment rent after her messy divorce. I've been babysitting her kids every weekend, buying their school supplies, and covering her grocery bills when money got tight. All while working part-time at the shelter because it gave my life purpose after losing my husband. Nobody at that party knew I'd sold my wedding ring last Christmas to pay her security deposit when she moved apartments. "It's embarrassing how she lives," my daughter continued on the video, clearly enjoying the attention from my sisters and neighbors. All these big dreams about helping animals, and now she just cleans dog cages while collecting food stamps. She laughed, and to my horror, I heard my own sister Janet laughing along. Tommy's phone caught everything from where he sat in the corner, probably filming for his school project about family traditions. My daughter had no idea she was being recorded, which made her cruel words cut even deeper. "Remember when she wanted to open her own pet grooming business?" My daughter turned to my neighbor Mrs. Patterson. She came crying to me about needing investors. So embarrassing. Now she pretends feeding stray cats makes her Mother Teresa or something. The truth was I'd given up my business dreams specifically to help her when her husband left. I was making good progress saving money, but every penny went to keeping her and my grandchildren housed and fed instead of pursuing my own goals. "Mom just doesn't have what it takes," my daughter sighed dramatically, reaching for more wine. The same wine I'd bought for my own birthday celebration. Some people just aren't meant for success. The live stream continued for another painful minute before Tommy finally turned the camera away. I sat frozen on my couch, tears streaming down my face as reality hit me like a truck. For years, I'd told myself that Lisa's occasional sharp comments were just stress from being a single mom. But this wasn't a bad day. This was who she really was when she thought I couldn't hear. And now there was proof that couldn't be denied. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Tommy. "Grandma, I'm so sorry you saw that. I didn't know she would say those things. Do you want me to delete the video?" I stared at his message for a long moment. "No, sweetie," I typed back. "Keep it up. I need to show you something when everyone leaves." The rest of my birthday party was a blur. I barely remembered cleaning up the decorations or putting away the leftover cake. My mind kept replaying Lisa's laughter as she mocked the work that gave my life meaning. 8 years ago, my world had been completely different. I was 50, recently widowed, and trying to figure out how to live without Robert. I'd always loved animals, and the shelter work helped me heal from grief. Then came the crisis that changed everything. Lisa's husband had left her with 2 kids and massive debt. "Mom, I'm going to lose the apartment," she'd sobbed over the phone. "The kids will have to change schools. I can't do this alone." I'd held her while she cried and promised I'd help. "We'll figure it out together, honey." Robert had left me a small life insurance policy, and I'd planned to use it to start my pet grooming business. Instead, I became Lisa's financial lifeline. Within months, I was covering her rent, utilities, and childcare costs. It was supposed to be temporary, just until she got back on her feet. But temporary turned into years. Lisa's situation improved slightly, but she still needed expensive things like car repairs, medical bills, and school fees for the kids. I'd become the family ATM, spending hours working extra shifts at the shelter and taking odd jobs to keep everyone afloat. "You're such a lifesaver, Mom," she would say during grateful moments. Those words had kept me going through countless sleepless nights and stressful weeks. I pulled out my old shoebox from under the bed, my secret record-keeping system. Inside were bank statements, rent receipts, and grocery bills from 8 long years. Every payment was documented, not because I planned to use them against her, but because my late husband had taught me to keep good records. I'd never imagined they would serve as evidence of betrayal. I gathered the shoebox, took a deep breath, and texted Tommy. "Can you come over? I need to talk to you privately." 20 minutes later, my 16-year-old grandson sat across from me in my kitchen, his eyes wide with concern. "Grandma, I feel terrible about the live stream. I was just filming the party for my media class project." "It's not your fault, honey," I said gently. "Actually, you did me a huge favor." I opened the shoebox and spread the contents across my kitchen table. 8 years of financial records, appointment calendars, and bank statements. "I've been paying for everything, Tommy. Her rent, your school supplies, groceries, car insurance. Everything." Tommy's jaw dropped as he looked through the papers. "Grandma, this is thousands of dollars." "Over $80,000 actually," I confirmed. "I put my entire retirement plan on hold for her. My business dreams, my savings, even dating opportunities. Everything went to supporting your mom because I thought she needed me." Tommy looked up from the paperwork, his young face showing mature anger. "And she calls you worthless. That's so messed up, Grandma." I nodded, feeling strangely calm. I always thought her criticism was her way of dealing with stress. That underneath it all, she appreciated what I was doing. Guess I was wrong. "So what are you going to do?" Tommy asked. I took the shoebox back, my decision becoming crystal clear as I spoke. "I'm done, sweetheart. I've already prepared the paperwork to remove myself from her lease agreement. You're not going to confront her." I shook my head firmly. What would be the point? She'd just make excuses or tell me I'm being too sensitive. I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app. I've been putting aside a little money each month, hoping to eventually open that pet grooming business. Now I'm going to use it for exactly that. As I spoke, I transferred funds I'd earmarked for Lisa's next month's rent into my business savings account. The action felt small but powerful. "Wow, Grandma," Tommy whispered. "Are you sure about this?" "I've never been more sure of anything in my life," I replied, surprising myself with how steady my voice sounded. "I've spent 8 years being her safety net while she dismisses everything I do. That ends today." I showed Tommy the business plan I'd written years ago, the one I'd almost thrown away. "I'm meeting with the bank next week about a small business loan. And I'm not backing down again." Tommy reached across the table and squeezed my wrinkled hand. "I'll send you the full video file, just in case you need proof." As he left, I felt years of obligation melting away. For the first time in so long, I was choosing myself. The guilt I'd expected was nowhere to be found, replaced by clarity and purpose that had been missing for far too long. The apartment management office was efficient when I called Monday morning. "You want to remove yourself from the lease guarantee for Lisa Chen?" the clerk asked. "May I ask why?" "Personal reasons," I replied, my voice remarkably steady. "I'll no longer be responsible for any payments after this month." It was day 3 of my new independence. I'd spent the weekend organizing paperwork and planning my future. My dining room table was covered with business plans as I systematically prepared for the life I'd always wanted. The clerk continued. "Ma'am, I should inform you that without your guarantee, your daughter's rent will need to be paid entirely by her, and any late fees will be her responsibility." "I understand completely," I said. "Please send all future correspondence directly to her address. I want to make sure she's fully informed." I knew exactly what I was doing. The notice would arrive in a week, giving me time to implement the rest of my plan before the inevitable explosion. My phone had been buzzing with messages from Lisa since yesterday. She had no idea what I was preparing, but she'd expected me to babysit her kids this morning like I did every Tuesday. I hadn't shown up. "Where are you? The kids are asking for Grandma. Did you forget about Tommy's doctor appointment? You always drive us there. Mom, are you feeling sick? Call me back right now." Each message only strengthened my resolve. I switched my phone to silent and continued working. By evening, I had completed most of the separation process and moved on to the next phase. I opened my laptop and began typing a carefully worded email to my entire extended family. "Dear family, after much consideration, I will no longer be providing financial support or childcare assistance to Lisa and her children. For the past 8 years, I have covered apartment rent, utilities, groceries, and numerous other expenses, totaling over $80,000. This decision comes after realizing that my sacrifices have not been valued or appreciated. I wanted you all to be informed, as Lisa may need assistance moving forward. Attached is a detailed breakdown of the support I've provided, should any of you wish to help. I hope you understand this decision wasn't made lightly. Best regards, Margaret." I attached the spreadsheet I'd created, documenting every payment, every babysitting session, and every sacrifice I'd made. The evidence was undeniable. Tommy had sent me the full live stream video as promised. I saved multiple copies. One on my computer, one in cloud storage, and one on a USB drive. I had no specific plans for the video yet, but intuition told me it might become necessary. My doorbell rang, startling me from my thoughts. Through the peephole, I saw Lisa standing on my porch, her face twisted with fury. I stepped back, heart racing. "Mom, I know you're in there. Open this door right now." I remained silent, watching her shadow pace beneath my door. "You missed babysitting today. Tommy's appointment got rescheduled because you weren't there. What's wrong with you?" I took a deep breath and spoke clearly through the door. "I'm not doing this anymore, Lisa. You'll be receiving important notices from your apartment manager soon. I suggest you read them carefully." "What are you talking about?" "Open this door." "No," I said firmly. The single word felt incredibly powerful. "I've heard what you really think of me. I think it's time we both moved on with our lives." There was confused silence before she exploded. "Is this about money? After everything I've been through, how can you abandon your own daughter?" I almost laughed at the irony. "Goodbye, Lisa. Please don't come back here." As her protests grew louder, I walked away from the door, returning to my laptop to finish what I'd started. Each step felt lighter, as if I was shedding a burden I'd carried too long. The fallout was swift and brutal. Within hours of sending my email, my phone exploded with notifications. My sister Janet was shocked and appalled by my abandonment. My brother-in-law called me selfish and cruel. My neighbor Mrs. Patterson suggested I work out whatever petty disagreement I was having with Lisa. Only Tommy and, surprisingly, my elderly Aunt Rose seemed to understand. Rose's message was simple. "It takes real courage to stand up for yourself, dear. Call me if you need anything." I blocked Lisa's number first, then muted the relatives who couldn't be bothered to ask for my side of the story. The silence that followed was strangely peaceful. 3 days later, I sat in the Small Business Development Center, finalizing my loan application for Maggie's Mobile Pet Grooming. "You've been away from business ownership for quite some time, Mrs. Chen," the advisor said, reviewing my paperwork. "But your plan is thorough and your previous work experience is impressive. You'll need to complete some updated certification courses." "I understand," I replied, excitement bubbling up inside me. "I've already registered for weekend classes." Walking to my car afterward, I felt a sense of belonging that had been missing for years. This was where I was meant to be, pursuing my own dreams instead of living in service to someone else's needs. My shelter work would continue part-time to accommodate my business schedule, but I'd already discussed this with my supervisor. The volunteer coordinator was thrilled about my business plans and offered to refer clients to me. When I got home, an official-looking envelope waited in my mailbox. Inside was a notice from Lisa's apartment complex, mistakenly sent to my address. It detailed the changes to her lease terms and the requirement for full rent payment now that I was no longer the guarantor. I should have felt guilty. Instead, I felt vindicated. My phone rang. It was Tommy. "Grandma, have you seen what's happening in the family group chat?" he asked urgently. "I left all those chats," I admitted. "What's going on?" "Your daughter is telling everyone you've had some kind of mental breakdown. She's saying you've been acting weird because your volunteer work is stressing you out, and that's why you're being so cruel." I sighed, completely unsurprised. "Classic manipulation tactic," I said. "That's not all, Grandma," Tommy continued seriously. "She convinced Aunt Janet to let her and the kids move in temporarily, while she sorts out her housing situation." "Of course she did," I said, shaking my head. "Your mother has always been excellent at finding someone to rescue her." After hanging up, I opened my laptop and stared at the video file Tommy had sent. The live stream that had changed everything. I hadn't watched it since that devastating first viewing in my kitchen. My cursor hovered over the play button. There was power in this recording. Power to show everyone exactly who Lisa was behind closed doors. To vindicate myself against her lies and manipulation. But did I need that vindication? The family members willing to believe her story without asking for my perspective. Were they really worth convincing? I closed the laptop without playing the video. I had the evidence if needed, but right now I had more important things to focus on. My business loan application was submitted. I'd scheduled my certification classes. And for the first time in years, I was planning for my future instead of managing someone else's crisis. The apartment notice sat on my counter, a reminder of the changes I'd set in motion. After a moment's thought, I addressed a new envelope to Lisa's actual address, placed the notice inside, and added a brief note. "This was sent to my address by mistake. I suggest you read it carefully." No signature, no emotion, just facts. As I dropped the envelope in the mailbox, I felt another piece of my burden lift away. The consequences of her actions were now hers to handle, not mine. 2 weeks passed in relative calm. I threw myself into business preparations, studying during every spare moment between shelter shifts and family obligations that I actually chose to keep. My certification exam was scheduled for Friday, and I felt growing confidence with each practice test. Then came the ambush. I was leaving the grocery store when I spotted them waiting by my car, Lisa and my sister Janet, clearly planning an intervention. My first instinct was to turn around and walk away, but they'd obviously seen me. Running would only postpone what seemed inevitable. I took a deep breath and approached my own vehicle. "Mom," Lisa said, her voice artificially sweet. "We need to talk." Up close, I could see the strain on her face. Her hair was unkempt, and she looked exhausted, probably from actually having to manage her own responsibilities for the first time in years. "I have nothing to say to you," I replied, keys ready in my hand. Janet stepped forward, playing her role as mediator. "Margaret, Lisa is struggling. Her rent is due tomorrow and she doesn't have the money. The kids might have to change schools. Is this really what you wanted?" "What I wanted," I said carefully, "was to be treated with basic respect and appreciation. What I wanted was recognition for 8 years of sacrifice. What I wanted was a daughter who didn't call me worthless behind my back." Lisa's face went pale. "What are you talking about?" "I saw the video, Lisa. Tommy's live stream from the birthday party. I heard everything you said about me." Recognition flashed across her face, quickly replaced by defensive anger. "You're taking things out of context." I was just venting a little frustration. "Everyone does that." Janet looked confused. "What video? Lisa, what is she talking about?" I almost laughed at the irony. Lisa hadn't even told her closest allies about the live stream, probably hoping I'd never find out about it. "Show her the video if you want," I said to Lisa. "Or don't. It doesn't change anything." Lisa switched tactics, her voice breaking dramatically. "I'm your daughter, Mom. After everything we've been through together, how can you abandon me when I need you most?" Something inside me snapped. 8 years of suppressed resentment bubbled to the surface. "Everything we've been through," I echoed incredulously. "Let me tell you what we've been through. I put my entire retirement on hold. I spent over $80,000 on your living expenses. I babysat your children every single week, drove you to appointments, and covered every crisis that came up." My hands were shaking, but my voice remained steady. "And in return you called me pathetic. You mocked my volunteer work, the work that gives my life meaning after losing your father. You laughed at my dreams while living off my sacrifice. I sent proof to everyone in the family. Every payment, every babysitting session, every time I chose your needs over my own. So don't stand there and act like I'm the villain here." Janet was looking at Lisa differently now, doubt creeping into her expression. "Lisa," she said slowly, "what exactly was in this video?" Lisa ignored her, focusing her desperation on me. "I'm sorry if I hurt your feelings, but this is an extreme overreaction. I'm facing eviction. The kids need stability. I'm aware of your situation," I replied calmly. "And I provided you with 8 years of continuous support. Now it's someone else's turn." I turned to Janet. "She's living with you now, right? Has she asked you for rent money yet? How many of her bills have you offered to pay? How many times have you babysat this week?" Janet's silence was answer enough. "That's what I thought," I said, turning back toward my car. "I wish you both well, but I won't be manipulated anymore." "This isn't over," Lisa called after me. "You can't just walk away from family." I paused with my hand on the car door handle. "You're right about one thing, Lisa. Family doesn't walk away from family. But family also doesn't tear each other down or take advantage of each other for years. So maybe ask yourself who really walked away first." As I drove off, I glanced in my rearview mirror. Lisa was gesturing wildly, clearly berating Janet for something. Some things never change, I thought. But I had changed completely. And as I headed home to continue studying for my certification exam, I realized I didn't feel guilty anymore. For the first time in 8 years, I felt absolutely free. 3 months passed in a whirlwind of activity. I passed my pet grooming certification with flying colors, secured my business loan, and purchased a used van that I converted into a mobile grooming salon. I hired my neighbor's teenage daughter to help with bookings and scheduling when I was out with clients. The transition wasn't seamless. There were equipment problems, difficult customers, and the occasional bout of self-doubt. But each small success reaffirmed that I'd made the right choice. The weight I'd carried for 8 years had lifted, and I approached each day with renewed energy and genuine excitement. My family situation had reached an uneasy stalemate. After our confrontation in the parking lot, Lisa had apparently shown her true colors to Janet, who quietly reached out to me a week later. "I had no idea what you'd been dealing with," she admitted over coffee. "Lisa told me you were being difficult and selfish. I should have asked for your side of the story." "It's okay," I replied, meaning it more than I'd expected. Lisa has always been good at controlling how people see situations. The Greater Boston Pet Show wasn't something I'd paid attention to in previous years. I'd been too busy managing Lisa's crises to attend industry events. But when my business mentor suggested I enter the New Entrepreneur Showcase, recognizing pet service businesses in their first year, I was touched by the encouragement. "You're a shoo-in," my fellow groomer Jessica insisted during our monthly networking meeting. "You've built more client relationships in 6 months than most people do in 2 years. Plus, you're going back to school for veterinary assistance training. If that's not dedication, I don't know what is." I didn't expect to win anything, but I was looking forward to the event. A chance to celebrate how far I'd come both professionally and personally. The morning of the pet show arrived, and I found myself in a bustling convention center surrounded by Boston's animal care community. I wore a new purple blazer I'd bought specifically for the occasion, my first non-necessity purchase in years. After setting up my booth display, I mingled with other business owners and reconnected with contacts from my certification program. "Margaret Chen," called out a familiar voice. I turned to see Dr. Rodriguez, one of the most respected veterinarians in Boston. "I was hoping to see you here. I've been hearing wonderful things about your mobile grooming services." We chatted about pet care trends, and I found myself easily engaged in the professional conversation, a welcome change from the distracted, overwhelmed person I'd been for so many years. My phone vibrated in my purse. I ignored it initially, fully present in the moment I was enjoying. When it buzzed again a minute later, I excused myself and checked the screen. For missed calls from a number I didn't recognize and a text message. "It's Tommy using Aunt Janet's phone. Emergency. Call back now, please." A familiar knot formed in my stomach. I stepped into a quieter hallway and returned the call. "Tommy, what's happening?" "Grandma, I'm sorry to bother you," Tommy said, his voice tense. "I'm at the hospital with Mom. She had some kind of panic attack and they want to keep her for observation. She's asking for you." I closed my eyes, waiting for the familiar wave of guilt and obligation to wash over me. It came, but it felt different now. Manageable, not overwhelming. "Is she stable?" "Yes." "Yes, but they want to talk to someone about her stress levels and living situation. Aunt Janet doesn't know what to tell them." I heard muffled voices, then the phone changed hands. "Margaret, it's Janet. Look, I know things have been difficult, but Lisa really needs you right now. The doctors have questions about her mental health history that we can't answer." As we spoke, I saw the pet show attendees moving toward the main auditorium. The awards ceremony would be starting soon. "I understand the situation," I said, making my decision, "but I'm at an important business event right now. I can come by the hospital this evening." "This is your daughter we're talking about." Janet's voice hardened. "Surely whatever pet thing you're doing can wait." The old Margaret would have dropped everything immediately, abandoning her own needs for Lisa's drama. But I wasn't that person anymore. "I'll be there around 6 o'clock, I said firmly. "Please tell the doctors I'll answer their questions then. And Janet, thank you for being there for her." I ended the call and took a deep breath. As I turned to rejoin the ceremony, I caught my reflection in a glass display case. Shoulders back, head high, eyes clear. For the first time in years, I recognized myself completely. And the winner of the new entrepreneur showcase goes to Margaret Chen of Maggie's Mobile Pet Grooming. The room erupted in applause as my name was announced. For a moment, I sat frozen in complete shock. I genuinely hadn't expected to win anything. Jessica nudged me with her elbow, grinning broadly. As I rose and made my way to the small stage, the crystal trophy felt substantial in my hands. Looking out at the audience, I saw colleagues, mentors, and even some competitors united in recognition of my work. The validation was overwhelming in the best possible way. "Thank you," I began, my voice steadier than I felt. "This means more to me than I can possibly express. The past year has been challenging, starting a business while dealing with difficult family situations. There were many days when I wasn't sure I could keep going." I paused, thinking of the countless nights I'd spent doubting myself, wondering if I was making the right choice by choosing my own dreams. But working with animals isn't just about grooming and care. It's about resilience, adapting to each unique situation, and finding solutions when everything seems impossible. Those same skills helped me navigate personal challenges and eventually find my way back to my original passion for veterinary work. The crowd murmured with interest at this revelation. I'm now studying to become a veterinary assistant while running my grooming business, and I couldn't be happier. So this award isn't just for business success. It's a reminder that we can rebuild our lives at any stage. Thank you for this incredible honor. The applause followed me back to my seat, where Jessica and our other colleagues congratulated me with enthusiastic handshakes and hugs. As the ceremony wrapped up, several people approached to ask about my veterinary studies, genuinely interested in my unconventional career path. By the time I checked my phone again, it was nearly 5 o'clock. I had 2 more missed calls from Janet and a text from Tommy, Mom's stable now. Take your time, Grandma. I gathered my things, said my goodbyes, and headed for my van. The trophy sat carefully secured in my equipment bag. The hospital was a 30-minute drive across town, and I used the time to mentally prepare for whatever drama awaited me. When I arrived at Lisa's room, I found her sitting up in bed, looking remarkably alert for someone who had supposedly experienced a serious panic attack. Janet sat in the visitor chair beside her, while Tommy stood awkwardly near the window, scrolling through his phone. "Finally," Lisa said as I entered, her tone predictably acidic. "Nice of you to fit us into your busy schedule." I set my bag down, the corner of the trophy box clearly visible. "Hello, Lisa. I came as soon as my business event ended. How are you feeling?" "How do you think I'm feeling?" Lisa snapped. "I had a complete breakdown. I could barely breathe, and you were too busy playing with dogs to care." Janet cleared her throat uncomfortably. "The doctor said it was likely brought on by stress. They've given her something to help with anxiety, and she should be fine to go home tomorrow." I nodded, keeping my expression neutral. "That's good news. I'm glad it wasn't anything more serious." My calm response seemed to infuriate Lisa further. "This wouldn't have happened if you hadn't abandoned me. I'm living in Janet's spare room, I can't afford anything, and I'm completely overwhelmed." "I'm sorry to hear you're having a difficult time," I said sincerely. "It must be challenging adjusting to new living arrangements." My measured response made her even angrier. "Is that all you have to say? After what you've put me through?" I glanced at Tommy, whose expression showed both embarrassment and quiet support. He gave me a subtle nod of encouragement. "Lisa," I said quietly, "I supported you for 8 years. I put my entire retirement plan on hold to make sure you and the kids had everything you needed. I did everything I could for you. And in return, you called me worthless and laughed at my dreams." Janet frowned, still not understanding the full situation. "What are you referring to, Margaret?" Tommy stepped forward bravely. "The video, Aunt Janet. The live stream where Mom said all those horrible things about Grandma at her birthday party. Mom didn't tell you about that, did she?" Lisa's face went pale. "That's completely irrelevant. Margaret is twisting things out of context to justify her selfish behavior." I reached into my bag and pulled out the trophy, setting it gently on the bedside table. The crystal caught the fluorescent light, the engraving clearly visible. "New Entrepreneur Showcase, Margaret Chen." "I won an award tonight," I explained to Janet, "for building a successful business despite significant personal challenges." Those challenges included supporting Lisa financially for 8 years while she belittled my achievements and mocked my dreams behind my back. Understanding finally dawned on Janet's face as she looked from the trophy to Lisa's defensive expression. "I didn't come here to argue," I continued. "I came because you needed medical support and I wanted to make sure you were okay. I don't wish you harm, Lisa. I never have. I just couldn't keep sacrificing my entire life for someone who didn't value it." The room fell silent. For once, Lisa had no sharp comeback, no manipulation ready. She simply stared at the trophy, visible proof of the success she'd dismissed so cruelly. "I should go," I said softly. "I have an early class tomorrow. Tommy, would you like a ride home?" As we left the room, I heard Janet speaking to Lisa in hushed, questioning tones. The conversation I'd been avoiding for months was finally happening, but this time I wouldn't be the one defending myself. 3 months later, I stood in my crisp white veterinary assistant uniform, hands steady as I helped Dr. Martinez examine a nervous golden retriever. My supervising veterinarian nodded approvingly as she observed my technique. "Excellent work, Margaret. Your clinical skills are developing quickly, and your grooming background really shows." I smiled as I gently calmed the anxious dog. "Thank you. It feels like everything's finally coming together." After completing my shift at the animal hospital, I headed to my van, pausing to check my phone. A text from Tommy lit up my screen. "Grandma's interview going viral. 15K views already." I laughed, shaking my head in amazement. Last week, I'd been interviewed by Pet Business Today about older entrepreneurs entering the animal care industry. The interviewer had been particularly interested in how my life experience had prepared me for veterinary work. Both fields require patience, compassion, and the ability to help beings through difficult transitions, I'd explained. And both taught me the importance of boundaries, something every animal care professional needs. As I drove home, my phone rang through the van's Bluetooth. An unknown number appeared on the screen. "Hello, Margaret, it's Janet." My sister's voice sounded hesitant. "Do you have a minute?" I tensed slightly, wondering what new crisis had emerged. "Is everything all right?" "Yes, everything's fine. I saw your interview. It was really inspiring." "Thank you," I replied, genuinely surprised by the compliment. "Lisa saw it too," Janet added quietly. I waited, bracing myself for news of her latest criticism or complaint. "She didn't say much," Janet continued carefully, "but I think seeing you in that veterinary uniform, talking about your dreams, it finally made things real for her. You really are doing it, Margaret. Everything you always wanted." I pulled into my driveway, letting the van idle as I processed her words. "I'm proud of you," Janet said, filling the silence. "And I'm sorry I didn't see what was happening sooner. Lisa can be very convincing when she wants to be." The simple acknowledgement brought unexpected tears to my eyes. "Thank you, Janet. That means more to me than you know." After we hung up, I sat for a moment, reflecting on how dramatically everything had changed in less than 2 years. The trophy from the pet show sat on my mantel now, next to my veterinary textbooks and business certificates. Physical reminders of my past struggles and future possibilities. Lisa and I still weren't speaking, and that was perfectly okay. I had stopped needing validation from someone incapable of giving it. Instead, I found it in my own accomplishments, in the grateful pet owners who trusted me with their beloved animals, and in the professional recognition that validated my choices. As I entered my home, my sanctuary, I smiled at the stack of veterinary journals on my coffee table. Tonight I would study for next week's exam, perhaps call Tommy later to catch up on his senior year plans. Tomorrow I had 3 grooming appointments scheduled between classes, and my life was full, purposeful, and entirely my own. The call from Janet had been an unexpected gift, not necessary for my happiness, but welcome nonetheless. Whether Lisa ever came to terms with my decision didn't define me anymore. I had reclaimed my path, my future, and most importantly, my sense of self-worth. And that, I realized as I settled in to study with a cup of tea, was the greatest victory of all. Sometimes the best thing you can do for your family is show them what it looks like to choose yourself. And sometimes that's exactly what they need to see. I hope I did what's right. Thanks for watching Granny's Voice. Please subscribe.